Hello, everybody, and welcome to South Kingstown Sports Talk. My name is Ben Barber from 321 Media, and I am joined today by the voice of South Kingstown Sports for 321, Dan and Trary, and one of our new broadcast team members, Clive Wynn. Guys, how's it going today?
It's going great. I'm excited to be here. Happy to be here talking South Kingstown sports, especially after the eventful week that we've had here in South Kingstown. So looking forward to talking some sports here.
And you got to leave in like 2 minutes because you got to make it back down to South Kingstown for the boys' senior day
That's
today.
right.
Tell me about that. Give me a little preview of that first.
So I've gotten the absolute pleasure to call a couple of senior nights. My first being the Cranston West girls, and the difference between just a regular game, like a regular home game, and a senior night is like night and day, and that's like saying a lot because a normal home game, it's the energy's high, fans are going crazy the whole time. So to go from just a regular home game to a senior night, it's absolutely like a whole nother level, and it's so much fun. The energy's high, the fans are all excited, the kids all have like this, it's like a certain emotion. Like there's so much more passion in the game knowing it's their last. And I just love, seeing it like through and through with all these kids, because it starts with the seniors being it's their day, and it goes down to like sophomores and freshmen, who are out there playing. So it's exciting to see, and I'm very excited to call this game today for the South Kingstown boys. Very exciting one coming up today.
Awesome. Now, we saw the South Kingstown girls unfortunately lose last night, the night before, against Charahoe at Charahoe's senior night. But how are the girls doing right now?
So the girls are looking pretty good. I believe they played 3 times this season, which they're up on the season, like record wise. They're up 2-1, and they play again in the playoffs, I believe, or I know they play each other one more time. But I'm pretty confident in the South Kingstown girls. They've done a tremendous. They've had a tremendous season. The girls that they have, a very young team too. So like we say all the time, they have a dynasty in the making. So, yeah, I've had the pleasure of calling a lot of their games, and it's been so much fun. And I'm excited to see how they play against Charahoe, for the last time. And Jacob over here was very excited, to call and be able to say and take the bragging rights for that one. I have Clive here, who's a Charahoe student, so I'm sure he's not agreeing with me as far as South Kingstown goes, but
Well, Dan, I live in SK. I live in South Kingstown.
oh really?
I do, but I would have to root for Chair on that one.
That's understandable. You're a student there, so it
Yeah.
makes sense. But I'm excited, to call for the South Kingstown girls. They've had a great season, and yeah, just a great overall atmosphere there. And
I'm back. I'm here.
I didn't know if you were talking to the other guys in the studio.
Yeah.
First of all, how dare you? There are no other guys in the studio. There's definitely not two guys named Jacob. Which I feel like should be its own thing. Like I feel like two guys named Jacob is a
That's a show in of itself.
that's a show, yeah. And one of them's with a K and one of them's with a C, and you never know what's going on. So let's talk about Prout real quick, because you also covered the Prout senior nights.
That's right.
Well, the boys at least.
Yes, I wasn't able to call the girls, which I wish I was able to. But, the boys, despite their loss, that was probably the most fun I think I've ever had calling a game. The energy was high. Like there was a DJ in the corner in my spot where I usually sit, which, I'll let him have his moment there. No, but I was right next to Lisa the whole time, and we were just like looking at each other like, oh my gosh, because, times two was up, for the most of the game. And, they started with their seniors, and some of them, don't get as much playing time as like some of the juniors or sophomores out there. So, it's kind of like a new lineup, so they weren't used to that. And it definitely showed in that first half. But, that second half, Prout turned up. They came right back, and it was a great overall effort. In that fourth quarter, I got to watch Mike Brugnoli do his thing as the captain. He's a junior, so I'm very excited to call games for him next year, going into his senior year. But he had, I don't even know how much, but he had 20-something just in that fourth quarter alone. And to me, that is impressive. to anyone, that's impressive.
Yeah,
You know,
their
to
goalie
score that
really
much.
showed up in that fourth quarter. It was, you know what that game reminded me of? The tortoise and the hare. Because
Yes.
it was like, oh, Proud's a better team than Times Two Academy. They're gonna win this game. And the
Yeah.
whole game you're like, what's happening? Proud is not like showing up. That seems like lackadaisical. And then they're behind by like 15 points. And then all of a sudden it's tied, and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. The hare decided to start running. But in the end, Slow and Steady fully won the race. And Times Two Academy did a fantastic job pulling that out. And then great sportsmanship too. Dean Falicenti, who's amazing, the Prout coach, uh, commenting on the player of the game, the young man from Times Two that is going to score 1,000 points in his next game, most likely. And 1,000 points for his career in his next game, I should clarify. Um, and Wilt Chamberlain would be jealous.
Yes.
But that was really fantastic. So, but he congratulated him on the post on Instagram for us. So, anyway,
Yeah, no, when I saw that, it made me feel a type of way because that's the environment that I get to the absolute pleasure of calling for, and it's like I'm gonna consider like Prout and South Kingstown is like my home when it comes to calling games. Like I love these guys. You know, they're a great team. They're a great organization. They're run by a great coach, Coach Felicetti, like you said. You know, he's a great guy. And Justin Uri, of course, deserved all the flowers from that win. Did a great job, was a little quiet in that second half, but, you know, was still able to come into overtime and do his thing and make sure his team came out on top. He's got 2 more games, I believe, on Monday and Tuesday, so he's on a back-to-back doubleheader. And he's got to score 34, I believe, to get to 1,000. So he's got 2 chances, but he could honestly do it on Monday night. So cameras and people will be all in attendance ready to get that going. I know he had 27 in the win against Prout. So, you know, he's
awesome.
a very impressive player to watch.
For sure. Well, thank you guys so much, Clive. We're gonna hear more from you next time, and I appreciate it. Or you're just gonna be like the I'm referencing an SNL sketch that you guys are probably too young to see. So we're going to move on. But thank you guys so much for being here. And we will have at least one playoff game. We have at least 2 more games in South Kingstown. Hopefully, Proud has some playoff games. I'm sure that the girls are going to have one this week. So keep an eye out, and we'll get you there. So thanks, guys, so much. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You.